Cheers, everyone. Thank you for joining me. I am Dave Brown, and this is the New Populist. If you are new to the channel, please like and subscribe. So I think we're all aware that we've been fighting this culture war now for probably decades. Although it's just recently that we really figured out that we were not just fighting about basic political stuff, but we were seeing a schism in our country based off of people who are a little more traditional and those who seemingly want to go off into la-la land with all this crazy things we've been seeing recently. And that brings me to this current Russia-Ukraine conflict. Now, ostensibly, it's about Russia wanting to recreate the Soviet Union under the evil Putin. But when you look deeper and you look at some of the comments by our politicians, this war is much more than just an issue of territory. This is a clash between different civilizations. And this fight has been going on for a long time. Earlier, it was at a simmer. And of course, when Russia invaded Ukraine, it bowled over and took off. But what underlies this conflict, as I pointed out in my other videos, is basically the Western system, the West. We wanted to absorb Russia into our system. And we thought that this would happen during the 90s under Yeltsin, which is why we supported Yeltsin. And then when Putin came in, he reversed direction and basically said, we're going to do our own thing here. We're Russian. We have our own society, our own culture. We are not going to be a vassal state of the West and lose our identity. And so when we, again, listen to our politicians, they really sort of tip their hand when they talk about things that really have nothing to do with the stated reasons for this conflict. And recently, Tucker Carlson mentioned things that Congressman Jamie Raskin said about Russia. Now, Tucker Carlson paraphrased Jamie Raskin, and he said that Russia is an Orthodox Christian country with traditional social values, and for that reason, it must be destroyed, no matter what the cost to us. So this is not a conventional war. This is a jihad. Now, when Carlson said this, he was attacked by the left for taking Raskin out of context, or paraphrasing incorrectly what Raskin said. But let's think about this. Russia is an Orthodox Christian country, and they have traditional social values. And so if you're preaching things opposite to that, then in a sense, Raskin is attacking Russia for being just that. So what did Raskin say exactly? Raskin released this statement. It's this long statement. I'll just go to a couple paragraphs in this statement. And he's talking about the war in Ukraine. And he says this about Russia. Moscow right now is a hub of corrupt tyranny, censorship, authoritarian repression, police violence, propaganda, government lies, and disinformation, and planning for war crimes. It is the world center of anti-feminist, anti-gay, anti-trans hatred, as well as the homeland of replacement theory for export. In supporting Ukraine, we are opposing these fascist views and supporting the urgent principles of democratic pluralism. Ukraine is not perfect, of course, but its society is organized on the radically different principles of democracy and freedom, which is why Russia's oligarchical leaders seek to destroy it forever. I am proud to have been banned from Putin's Russia for my pro-Ukrainian legislative activism, and I look forward to visiting Ukraine. Now, it's kind of a joke that Raskin describes Ukraine as being this growing democracy, when in fact their country had this coup in 2014 supported by the United States. They've banned the Russian language. They've attacked Russians even before this war started. they were the most corrupt country in Europe, maybe on planet Earth. And to describe Ukraine as being this country that is pro-democracy and has all these Western liberal values is a little bit of an exaggeration. Even in 2022, right now, gay marriage is banned in Ukraine. And if we were to find those guys at the old Azov battalion, I like to ask them what they think about trans rights. What do you think they're going to tell us? So here Raskin is very clearly attacking Russia for being, again, anti-gay, anti-feminist, anti-trans. And yes, if you support those things, then you don't support traditional society in a traditional Orthodox Christian country. So what Carlson said, paraphrasing Raskin, is essentially correct. Raskin is against Russia for those reasons. And I kind of find it funny that we conservatives in the United States, we attack the left for being Marxist, right? We look at all this weird transgender stuff. We say it's Marxism, Marxism, Marxism. Well, how the tables have turned. Back in the early 20th century, we were the Christian country, and Russia was this country that was had this Marxist revolution. And then 100 years later, Russia is the Orthodox Christian country, and the United States is attacking Russia for its traditional values while we promote all of this weird stuff. Now, is all this stuff Marxism? As I said before in other videos, it's not exactly Marxism. It's postmodernism, a whole slew of leftist philosophies that promote this weird stuff. It's not just Marxism, but that's the one we sort of fall back to because it's the one we've seen the most and the one that we have the most understanding of. But again, here we are 100 years later, and the roles have completely reversed. Now, is Russia an anti-gay country? Well, they don't have gay marriage, and they recently had a law that banned LGBT propaganda among all ages. Now, previously, they just banned it for children, but now they've expanded it to all adults. And this comes from Reuters 5 days ago. Russian lawmakers back a bill on Thursday that would expand an existing ban on the promotion of LGBT propaganda among children to include people of all ages, a move critics see as an attempt to further intimidate and oppress sexual minorities. Authorities have already used existing laws to stop gay pride marches and detain gay rights activists. Under the new bill passed unanimously on its first reading by the lower house State Duma, an event or act deemed to promote homosexuality online, in film and books, in advertising or in public could incur a hefty fine. Lawmakers say they are defending the morality in the face of what they argue are un-Russian liberal values promoted by the West. But human rights groups say the moves are designed to outlaw representations of minorities such as lesbians, gay men, bisexuals, and transgender people in public life. The Russians, however, say we are not banning reference to LGBT as a phenomenon. We are banning propaganda, and the wording is extremely important here. And this is according to one of the Russian lawmakers. Now, can you be gay in Russia? Yes. Can you promote being gay in Russia? No. Now, do I support that personally? Well, let's look at our situation here in the United States. I'm from Maryland. 2010, we had gay marriage in Maryland. I was fairly agnostic on the issue. It passed, and then my life didn't change, so I really didn't care. That's my sort of libertarian side. I know some people are Christian conservatives and they don't support gay marriage. That's fine. I was essentially like, I don't really care. Then 2015, through the court system, gay marriage became legal in all 50 states. And if it stopped there, maybe you could blame Russia more for not wanting to have LGBT stuff promoted in Russia. But now I say, if you're Russia and you're looking at our society in 2022. We didn't stop at gay marriage in 2015. 2018, we have ABC. We have a morning show with Michael Strahan, a 10-year-old drag boy. Now we have Drag Queen Story Hour. Now we have drag-friendly or children-friendly drag shows. We have 5-year-old transgenders. We have prepubescent teens on hormone blockers to prevent puberty because they are transitioning. We have 50 million genders. And if you're Russia and you're looking at us, the United States, can you really blame them for not wanting to have LGBT propaganda or the promotion of this in Russia? How can we look at them and judge them when we have 5-year-old transgenders? How can we do that? And my position is any 5-year-old transgender is the victim of child abuse. They're a victim of parents who are, I think, Munchausen by proxy, who really, I hate to use the word, groom their child into having these ideas, or they implant these ideas in their head, and they stoke these ideas. And so now they have a 5-year-old transgender, and they get interviewed by the local news, and then their child is special, and they get a lot of attention. So when I look at Russia and their laws, I go, can I really blame them? And even more, and this is an important thing, what business is it of ours to tell Russia how they should organize their society? I frankly think it's none of our business, yet we are in the business of exporting our values all across the world. But if it were to happen the other way, we would be offended. But that's how you behave when you're an empire. You get to tell other people what they can do, but they can't tell you what you can do. And it's a little hypocritical. And I noticed something as well. I've seen some of these African presidents interviewed by CNN, and they always immediately go to the gay issue. Why don't you support this? Why don't you support that? And the answer for them is always the same. It's our country, it's our society, it's our business. Who are you to tell us how to organize our society? So we're seeing this global sort of cultural clash. It's not just the United States and internally here, it's really everywhere. And I brought it before, George Soros and the Open Society, all of these NGOs. And the United States, I think, has two ways to undermine other countries. One, direct invasion, Iraq, Afghanistan. And the other one, the color revolutions, the promoting of rights in other countries. We're saying we're promoting democracy and freedom and LGBT rights. And those countries are saying you're undermining our societies, which is exactly what we're doing, which is why in Russia, George Soros's Open Society is banned. It's also banned in China. Why? Because everywhere George Soros sets up one of these open societies, it's a countdown until that country has a revolution and the government is overthrown and pro-West elements gain power within that country. This is how it all works. And I've said before, I think George Soros probably has a connection to intelligence. He's an ex-Nazi collaborator. He got his money through financial manipulation of the currency markets. He's not a good guy, yet seemingly he's never attacked by any Western government or even monitored or reviewed, examined, whatever you want to call it. He has apparently free reign to do what he wants. Why? Well, in my belief, he's an extension of Western intelligence, and him doing what he does is really in concert with our own State Department and what our State Department wants to do in those countries as well. And they have the cover of a private individual, a private organization doing this work, when really it has our complete support at the government level. So that's what our world is right now. It is a chessboard. We have all these different things at play. And our government, our media, they lie, they gaslight. They accuse the other countries of being imperialist, while we're in fact the ones being most imperialist, and it's not even close. How many countries has China invaded in the last 30 years? How many countries has the United States invaded? But we're not imperialist, and China, well, they're anti-democracy and they're communist, and we got to watch out for them. Does that make any sense to you? Russia has gone into Ukraine. Yes, they've invaded another country. But again, compared to the United States, whose record is much worse? It's ours, and it's not even close. So in this culture war, 2022, Russia, they are fighting to protect their values. And one last thing I'll say about that, I talk about them being a traditional Christian country and how Marxism is atheist by definition. Russia and Putin did a very smart thing with some of their ethnic minorities. They gave the Chechens, for example, a fair bit of autonomy to have their religion, have their culture, but be part of the Russian Federation. So the Russians, the Chechens in fighting Ukraine, they have the Chechen flags. They have their full beards. They're going around, Allah Akbar. They've kept their culture and their religion. So Putin, ironically enough, he hasn't suppressed religious minorities in that sense. They're allowed to, keep their identity and keep their culture and their religion. And it's really the United States that goes around trying to convert other people into what we want them to be. If we had a little more respect for other countries and other cultures, we would have less problems. But of course, if we did that, that goes against our imperialist goals. You must accept the LGBTQ plus ZYX agenda. If you don't, you're evil, and you must be destroyed. And so Raskin talking about Russia being anti-trans, anti-gay, anti-whatever, that's more of that, more of our Western system trying to be pushed onto the rest of the world. And Putin, to our chagrin, is actually standing up to us saying, yeah, we're not going along with this, and we're going to go into Ukraine because you guys have put in this puppet government and this puppet president and are trying to encircle Russia and destroy our country so that one day we can be incorporated into the Western system. Not happening. We have 6,000 nukes. We have support from a lot of countries in Asia. We have the support of China, not openly in a big way, but China supports them because China understands after Russia, they're next. If Russia falls, China is the next big enemy of the West on the chessboard. So China does not want to see Russia fail. So that's where we're at right now. So do not be persuaded otherwise. We are in a global culture war, the U.S. imperialism versus everybody else. And until we're honest about that, until people in the United States understand that, we are going to continue to be fooled into supporting these wars that has nothing to do with freedom and democracy. It has everything to do with maintaining the U.S. empire and keeping the world unipolar. But that's changing. And honestly, there's nothing we really can do about it. The only way we prevent a multipolar world is if we blow up the entire thing. And based on some of the actions from our government, the Nord Stream pipeline, using the shipping lanes in the Black Sea to attack Russian ships, we are escalating because we understand that Russia is winning. Ukraine is not winning. Russia is winning. And if Russia wins, that's a direct shot, not at Ukraine, but at the U.S. empire and NATO. And we simply do not want to allow that to happen. Well, that's it for now. Again, if you are new to the channel, please like and subscribe. I'll see you next time.